Hi, this is Fred FR5ED with a silent 5 with another beer review. This is Kona Brewing Company's Pipeline. It's part of their Aloha series. It's a porter made with Hawaiian Kona coffee. You may or may not know that I roast my own coffee, and so now you're hitting both my hot buttons. You've got a beer with coffee. So anyway, and as a side note, since I started brewing my own beer, I do have on my list of beers to brew would be a stout with my own fresh roasted coffee. So I'm still studying up on the different ways you can add the coffee. Some people add it to the boil, some people add it to the mash, some add it to the boil, some add it to the fermenter, some add it to the keg afterwards. And do you do it as whole beans or crushed or as a brewed liquid? All sorts of ways to do it. I do not know how they added it to this porter. I didn't see it when I looked it up, but they used one of those methods for sure. I would say, and this would be an admonition to anybody out there brewing their own beer and wanting to add coffee to it, I would not add coffee to the boil. Coffee should never be subjected to 212 degrees. The old percolators used in years gone by, where it boils the coffee and just keeps recirculating it through the grounds, is the worst way in the world to make coffee. That was the standard way of doing it for a lot of households, back in the, I'm sure, 30s and 40s. There was another method, well, don't want to get off the subject, but there was another method in that same era that was the best way of making coffee, and that was with a vacuum pot or a siphon pot. Other names for it too. Another subject. But anyway, let's get back to the subject at hand, and that would be the Pipeline Porter from Kona Brewing. I'm going to attempt to use and it sort of worked. Might have to talk to these guys. That opener worked for a little bit and then it quit working. And as I get ready to pour this, it's been sitting out for about 10 or 15 minutes, I think. I dropped my beer refrigerator from 37 down to 36 degrees, may go to 35, because I'm thinking more in terms of the kegs that I put in there now of my homebrew. Anyway, this rates on rate beer at 89 overall and 88 in style, and that is after 1,073 reviews. And over on Beer Advocate, get over there real quickly, it comes in at an 86, which is very good, and that's after 717 reviews, and the brothers give it an 89, which is very good as well. By the way, I may note, this is another beer provided to me by my nephew Shannon and my niece Shelley. So I'm doing these back-to-back reviews in honor of them and in gratitude for this donation to the cause. So anyway, let's go ahead and pour this. I'm using a snifter, which I like to use for my stouts and porters. Glassware matters. Let's just say that. It does, and I mentioned that because I just read on the site, yes, it's on the Rate Beer site. Serve in a shaker pint. Nothing should be served in a shaker pint. No straight edge glasses. No. Just no. Just say no. So it looks very nice. It's a medium head. It's not very dense. It's medium to medium large bubbles, but it is holding in there. It's about one finger, and it's a khaki tan, very off-white beige head. There's all the color spectrums for you. I'm going to hold it up to the light here so you're going to lose sight of it for a moment. I'm not. It's quite dark. It is that dark porter stout color, and I'm not able to see through it, and I can't tip it down and see through the edge of it against a white surface either. So, that's some really nice microfoam on the top, though. Even though from the side it's kind of medium dense bubbles, that's a nice dense foam on top. All right, gonna smell it. Okay, if you hadn't told me there was coffee in there, I would have told you there's coffee in there. Oh, that is a wonderful aroma. And Kona coffee, let me tell you, first of all, if you ever go to buy Kona, now I roast my own coffee, as I mentioned, so a little bit of authority here. Kona coffee is probably, now not counting Kopi Luwak, that's an oddity of its own, but Kona coffee is probably the second most expensive coffee in the world behind Blue Mountain coffee from Jamaica. The trouble is with Blue Mountain coffee, $56 a pound or so, is unless you're getting Wallingford Estate, it's not the real what people know and expect from Blue Mountain coffee. So if you're ever going to buy Blue Mountain coffee, well, let's not go there. If you don't buy it fresh roasted, it doesn't matter what it is because it's stale. So anyway, but Kona, that is very well tended. Anything from Kona, it's grown in volcanic ash soil. At altitude, that is, to me, Kona is better than Jamaican Blue Mountain. But everybody's got a different preference. But if you're talking about high-end coffee, exotic gourmet coffee, those are your two that you really, again, Kopi Luwak is an oddity of its own. And if you don't know what Kopi, K-O-P-I, Luwak, L-U-W-A-K is, look that up. It's a very odd story on its own. I even wrote and sang a song about that one. Okay, but Kona coffee is so good. The fact that that's been added to this, and the head's now dying down, and I'm not in a rush to start this. I really want this, and it's probably a good temperature now. It really does feel like the right temperature. Really want to get all the flavor and aromas out of this. So let's get some aromas. And I did mention the coffee is right in the forefront. There's plenty of dark chocolate, dark roast malt aromas in there, but the coffee, and I've had plenty of coffee stouts. This one really, and doesn't smell like a super dark roast. It really seems to have a, more of a medium dark roast element to it as far as coffee goes. And there's a little bit of a sweet smell to it. It'll be interesting to see if they've got any kind of residual sweetness in here, or is it perfectly dry? We'll find out. Okay. Oh my. First of all, it's a wonderful temperature. It's got to be up in the the mid 50s. Secondly, carbon. All right, let's start with ASTMO. Start with A. I told you about the appearance. Told you about the aroma or smell. AS smell. The taste. I am getting so many things. It is not totally dry, and I like that. There is almost a molasses caramelly, I hate to use the word sweetness because I'm not getting anything sugary sweet, but it is a very nice, smooth flavor of molasses, caramelly, dark roasted chocolate, and of course the coffee. And I guess that's what I'm saying is the coffee aroma was so pronounced. It's also pronounced in the taste, but it's very balanced. It's like the right amount. Mm-hmm. Oh, well done. Very well done. Sometimes in coffee stouts and coffee porters, you have to hunt for it. The dark roasted malts and maybe the dark chocolate flavors and whatever else, the dark roasted malts overpower any presence of whatever coffee they added to it. Whatever they did here as far as how much and when and all that, it's there. It's nice and in the forefront, and it is very pleasant. It's not bitter. I guess I want to make that point too. It's not this super bitter. Sometimes with the dark roasted, or let me say the dark stouts and porters can sometimes have a bitterness, not so much from the hops, but from the dark roasted malts, this is smooth. That would be, if I had to use one word, smooth. The mouthfeel is a little more than medium, and it's almost creamy, and the carbonation is a little more than maybe my preference for. Of course, I'm thinking of English ales, so it's probably just about right. Let me check it. You know what? It really is. There's enough there to give it some sparkle, but not enough to take away from the flavor and the mouthfeel. Because if it's too carbonated, it's hard to sense the mouthfeel because of all the, the tingling from the carbonation. I find this quite enjoyable. And I will end this now since I have waxed eloquently. This is from the Aloha series called Pipeline. It's a porter from Kona Brewing Company from Hawaii. And this is Fred, FR5ED. Over now.